Hello, and welcome to the Hypergrowth Podcast. This is going to be a podcast dedicated to unpacking what it takes to build rapidly scalable e-commerce brands. I'm your host, Arjun Jolly, co-founder of adQuadrant, and we've got an exciting show planned for you today. We're going to go deep into the best Shopify apps that you need if you're a brand generating at least $10 million in annual sales. Joining me today is Robert Brown from Shopify. Robert plays the role of senior strategic product partnerships and is heavily involved in Shopify's app ecosystem. He's one of those guys that's kind of seen them all, and he's here to share some knowledge with you today. Robert, thanks for joining us.
Arjun, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here today, kicking this off for you and the team. Really looking forward to diving into what makes a good app and then looking at some of the examples of what different brands can use to grow their businesses.
Absolutely. And, before we jump into the meat of the presentation, you've been with Shopify for over 6 years. And along that time frame, there's been some substantial growth at Shopify. Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Absolutely. So I started at Shopify in 2016, took the role of being a Shopify guru because I knew I wanted to work for the company, but I wanted to work with the product in a hands-on environment. And in that role, I was able to work with thousands of merchants for about a year and a half. And very quickly within that domain, I realized that merchants are asking for certain solutions that we just cannot offer. So the conversation always pivoted to the App Store and, there's an app for this, there's an app for that. So I took it upon myself to learn who are these app companies, what are they actually building upon, and where are they providing value to our merchants? And then that led me to become a developer advocate, which was more around being an evangelist for the partner ecosystem at Shopify and attracting and working with some of our top partners. And then about 4 years ago, I moved over to the strategic partnerships team, which really focuses in on our top, partners across the app ecosystem that our merchants are turning to. So we ensure that they're building the best products possible so that merchants can get the best value out of a shared integration with our platform.
Amazing. Wow, what an exciting time to be alive.
It's been great.
So let's talk a little bit about the app and partner ecosystem at Shopify. So let's say, for example, if I was an e-commerce store that needed help with a specific problem that can be solved with an app or via a partner, where would you suggest I start? Should I ask my agency for a recommendation? Should I go to the app ecosystem, or are there any other resources that you'd recommend?
Great question. So I think the most important thing as a brand is there's not going to be a one-size-fits-all solution. There's going to be various solutions out there that'll do the same thing, but slightly differently. And you might have to make some concessions on certain features or integrations that you're looking for. But what I'd recommend is there's a number of different surface points you can look at before committing to going with a provider. The App Store is a great kind of first step to search a few keywords for what you're looking to solve for. We've done a lot of improvements over the years to help with filtering and providing the best recommendations based on input. And if you found a couple partners there, make a short list. And then there's another surface point I'd recommend looking at, and that is our Shopify Plus directory. So we have agencies listed there if you're not working with one already, but we also have a new group for Plus certified app partners. And these are partners that have basically proven that their solution is best in class, and they've gone through a separate review process to be Plus certified. So we know that these partners can actually maintain and uphold service in a high scale and high volume environment. And these are the best in class. And there's only about 100 versus the 9,000 that are in our App Store. So once you've kind of compared the App Store to this Plus certified app segment, I'd then recommend kind of reaching out to the top 3 in a particular space you're looking for. And of course, if you're working with an agency, definitely get their thoughts and their considerations. Most agencies have seen it all, and they might have a preference based on their previous experience with certain partners.
Got it. Excellent. That's a great couple places to start. So sure. Before the show today, you put together some of your top picks, if you will, of apps that you'd recommend for those types of brands that are generating at least $10 million in annual sales. And I know you put them into a couple of different categories. So I think it would be beneficial to really dive into some of these categories and explore what you think would be a great fit for the audience. Now, why don't we start with customer acquisition and marketing? What are the apps that you'd recommend for, again, those brands, 10 million in sales plus, that are looking to scale their customer acquisition and marketing efforts?
Definitely. So I think at that kind of state of business, when you're doing about 10 million a year in sales, you're really hitting home on a certain segment of customers. but you should still be looking to widen your top of funnel customer engagement. So there's two solutions that I'd actually turn to and recommend looking at. One of which is called AdRoll, which is one of our Plus certified app partners. They have a long-standing solution with our platform, and within a few steps, you can basically have their system working with all of your Shopify data to help kind of identify and then implement various top of funnel strategies for retargeting and even across multiple channels too. I think today, especially with tracking becoming a lot more restrictive and certain platforms and providers starting to limit and put gates around what data can be shared, having a really strong top level audience solution for retargeting is going to be key. So AdRoll is one of those companies. The other solution I'd recommend looking at is called Shopify Audiences. This is actually a first-party tool, so kind of have to self-promote it a little bit, but it's very new. And what it does is it helps aggregate a number of different merchant data points anonymously across all of our Shopify Plus merchant base. And what that does is help create lookalike audiences for us to be able to automatically run campaigns on a merchant's behalf on Meta, so Facebook and Instagram. So it's actually a very quick and easy tool to leverage our first party data that we have and help brands reach a wider audience spread.
Excellent. How about when it comes to email and SMS?
Definitely. So the email and SMS space has been one of those hot spaces the last couple of years. There's been a lot of companies really growing and making strides, and even some acquisitions in play where an email provider might now start offering SMS. But one company sticks out as kind of the go-to for a lot of growing and scaling businesses. And that should come as no surprise as Klaviyo. They've been around for years. They have a really solid product when it comes to segmentation and being able to create different automation flows for a variety of different campaigns. Another good thing about Klaviyo is that they actually sync with your Shopify data, again, automatically. So you're not waiting for a 3-month implementation. It's actually a very quick turnaround time. And they also do SMS too, as of recently. But if you're really looking at kind of going deeper on SMS, there's a service called SMS Bump, which was acquired by Yotpo. And Yotpo, for those that don't know, is one of the other powerhouse app partners in our ecosystem. And they have worked with SMS Bump in the past, and now they're under the same roof. And SMS Bump is great for, again, creating various automation flows. So reducing time that your team has to spend managing different campaigns. It's more of a set it and forget it. And they also integrate, it also integrates a lot with other CRM tools and other tech stacks that you might have in place for your brand.
Excellent. Yeah. And the interesting thing about partners like Yotpo, as an example, are the fact that they started in one space, such as reviews, and they've morphed into reviews, UGC, SMS, et cetera. So it's really interesting to see how some of these partners have kind of expanded their core services within a specific sector of what their offering is. The list of marketing products that you provided, I think that's super beneficial, and I think it's really exciting to have those mentions here in this podcast on the basis of brands can really leverage these partners to scale their businesses. But marketing is more than just awareness and more than just customer acquisition. There's a whole slew of other aspects, whether it's the initial impression all the way through to post-sale customer experience. So I'd really like to understand what your thoughts are around the types of partners to work with that support marketing efforts. And what I mean by that are things like UGC apps or partners, creator expansion, CRM, and so on. What are your thoughts on some of the partners that you'd recommend for the needs like that?
Definitely. So I think, as a growing brand, you're going to have a lot of content out there. You have a large merchant base or a customer base that you're working with. And I think a lot of brands underestimate, how much they should be engaging to get positive reviews and feedback to help actually boost the content on their own websites. There's a number of companies in that space, but there's two in particular that I'd recommend from a UGC perspective. Judge Me and Looks are kind of two leaders in that space. And they basically offer both product reviews and I think also SMS and some other marketing components too. But between email campaigns to collect product reviews and boost that presence on your website, and other solutions in terms of getting those testimonials, they're very extensive and they're quite wide reaching in the abilities that they can offer for your brand. Another thing I'd look at too is as you're growing your brand and your engagement, another solution out there is HubSpot. It's quite nice for being able to, leverage maybe an in-house sales team and track referrals and sales and other growth points. Very good tool for an enterprise brand.
Excellent. How about when it comes to customer service? What are your thoughts on that?
Definitely. I've worked for a number of brands over the years from a customer service perspective, and you might be, getting emails left, right, and center, also on social, and consolidating all that into one place is really key. We have another solution in our partner ecosystem, which is Gorgeous, and they've been around for also a number of years, and they are one of the top solutions in that space. You can set up a whole team around various queues. You can aggregate channel conversations into one space. So you're not working out of Gmail or Twitter or Instagram, but rather from one platform. Also very important to think about from an optimization perspective. If your team is spread across various resources, you're not being as efficient as you can be. So a CRM like Gorgeous and others out there is very helpful.
Got it. Great. And, we've talked about everything from marketing and customer acquisition with tools like AdRoll, Klaviyo, et cetera. We've talked about UGC and creators all the way through to customer service. But once you acquire that customer and they actually purchase the product, you've got to ship it. And in today's world, supply chain is no joke. And there's a lot of struggles happening with shipping and tracking and fulfillment and even returns and tracking on that aspect as well. So I'd love to also just understand what your thoughts are on shipping as a whole, and also the partners and apps that you'd recommend for shipping, tracking, and returns specifically.
Amazing. So I'll just preface with the shipping and logistics space is the area that I actually focus on. So there's a lot of partners in this space that cover a wide range of different solutions, but I'll speak to the points that you brought up there, Arjun, but there's a number of solutions depending on various business types that do perform better than others and specialize in various services on the logistics front. But I guess getting into the start of it, before even a shipment occurs, the first thing that a buyer is going to see is that shipping rate at checkout. So brands should always be thinking about what is their shipping strategy when it comes to rate delivery, but also rate type. So there's a solution out there that we have that's in the Plus Certified App program called Shipper HQ. And this team is based out of Austin, Texas. They're very common on the Magento platform, but they've also really merged out to Shopify and other platforms. And they are one of the best in the game for basically a shipping brain engine. So if you have various locations and you need to charge specific amounts, that's what they're really good for. So that calculation and deliverability is their strong point. But if you really want to take a look at, I want to A/B test various rates at checkout. There might be a campaign you're running where you want to see if free shipping is better than paid shipping or what have you. There's another solution in our app ecosystem called Ship Scout, which will let you do that A/B testing. So between those two solutions, kind of honing that first stage in the shipping process is key. The next phase is, where are you fulfilling from, or what is your fulfillment strategy? If you're a brand doing about 10 million a year, you've probably outsourced some of your fulfillment to a 3PL partner, whether it's SFN, ShipBob, ShipHero, ShipFusion. Everybody has the word ship in their name. But 3PL and finding a third-party logistics provider is probably one of the most challenging things. We do have a very good document, though, on kind of how to qualify and measure, who's the best partner for your brand's needs. Like if you're shipping domestically, there might be some 3PLs that are better suited for that. But if you're more focused on international expansion and dealing with duties and tariffs, there's other solutions that are best positioned for that too. But if you're also self-shipping, and you have a team on hand that's doing a lot of these things, there's other solutions in market that'll let you have a pick, pack, and ship strategy without having to run everything manually with label printers. So lots of solutions in there. I won't go too deep. But getting into kind of after that shipping component, the tracking and the WISMO element. And WISMO basically stands for where is my order? And I think most brands know that that's probably one of the highest requested questions. I ordered X amount of time ago, the supply chain is slowing down, so delivery times can be a little bit unstable. So there's a lot of partners that have actually latched onto this and have tried to solve it. And a lot of them have solved it in various different ways, but the most common is a highly customized order tracking page. And these tracking pages can sync to your email campaigns. You can actually really add a lot of value from an upsell potential on those tracking platforms. So there's two really good services that come to mind. One is called Wonderment, fairly new to the ecosystem, but very well known in the plus space. They have a lot of analytics around shipping performance. So they'll look at how your carriers are stacking up with their delivery promises, but also let you customize those pages with upsells and other services. And then another company has been in the space a long time. That's Aftership. And Aftership is kind of like a Yotpo where they have a large suite of products, but shipping is their bread and butter. Their Aftership tracking solution has over 900 carriers integrated with it. So if you have a global business and you're working with various shipping carriers, they can actually track up to over 900 carriers, which is excellent for your customers. Not to mention, they're also quite flexible when it comes to customizations. And then I think lastly, kind of looking at fulfillment and logistics as a whole, the other element is returns. Thinking about having a really strong return strategy and exchanges too is going to help with reducing customer churn or just one-time purchases. There's nothing worse than buying something and it not fitting or not being what's expected, and then there's no clear way to return something. So having a positive engagement through a returns provider is key. In that field, there's a number of solutions. Loop Returns is arguably one of the best. They have a very flexible and native returns portal component where you can set up various policies, do exchanges, and have a very delightful experience for your buyers.
Awesome. That's, I think that's super valuable, especially with where things are at today. And, the thing I really love about Shopify is the fact that you really embrace all of these different partners that have these amazing focus areas and expertise that they've built out, while Shopify is obviously the baddest e-commerce platform out there. It's absolutely amazing. So really, really amazing to see how these apps can kind of come together. And especially if you're that brand that's generating at least 10 million in sales, it's important to consider all of these different aspects and solutions out there that can really help to propel your business forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Robert, thanks again for joining us. This was great. And I think our listeners are going to find it incredibly helpful as they continue to build their e-commerce businesses. So thank you so much for taking the time and providing your valuable insights. Anything else you want to share with our audience, Robert?
Yeah, my pleasure. There's, I think, three more that are very interesting. And I think something that brands should keep in mind if you're looking at expanding your market. And that is looking at catalog expansion, brand and partnership opportunities, and also creator expansion specifically. So very quickly, from a catalog perspective, there's a solution in market called Caro, and that really helps facilitate brands to work with other brands that have a like-minded audience and like-minded customer base. So think about being able to surface your product on their order thank you pages and be able to kind of co-sell each other's products. So very neat in creating kind of that curated affiliated network. Another company too is called Disco Growth. And this is almost like a networking effect on steroids, where if your brand is established, it'll match you up with other brands for your products to be, again, surfaced on different touch points. And then lastly is Dovetail, which is a company that Shopify has actually acquired recently, but this is more for affiliate management. So if you're working with different influencers on other platforms and you want to give them promo codes for tracking, they're a really good service for managing that engagement, but also the conversations with the various brand reps, essentially. But I could talk all day, Arjun, about the different solutions out there. I hope your audience found this helpful.
I'm sure our listeners are going to leave this podcast with a lot of questions and a lot of ideas. Where can they reach you, Robert, if they have any questions and they'd like to pick your brain?
Definitely. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn. It's just Robert Brown, one of the many Robert Browns out there, but I think the only one at Shopify. Or you can email me as well at robert.brown@shopify.com.